Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Epic Vision Zone. My name is Jane Applegath, a former award-winning stockbroker, television producer, scriptwriter, yoga instructor, and serial entrepreneur, now founder of the Epic Vision Zone. I'm here to help you fulfill your dream's big vision, grow the power of your voice, and achieve the impact you're meant to have on the world. Because what you say and why you say it is the key to influencing more people, growing financially free, and living a more abundant and joyful life. Here at the Epic Vision Zone, we bring you some of the world's most influential people to inspire you to hit the go button on your epic life. A big thank you to everyone for being here today. Our guest today says trying to lead without emotional intelligence is like trying to drive with your parking brakes on. You can do it, but you're not going to get very far. Joie Seldon is an emotional intelligence master trainer, a dynamic speaker, author of the book Emotions, an owner's get manual, and the creator of Emotions at Work online course. With a master's degree in Somatic Psychology, plus her experience as an entrepreneur, professional actor, acting and improv teacher, Joie brings mind, emotions, and creativity to show clients how to successfully manage their emotions for career and personal success. Understanding human motivation and behavior, she has taught thousands of executives, creative professionals, and women not satisfied with the status quo, showing them how to fill their ambitions with actionable concepts and tools to bring about life-changing results. Her fun and interactive Emotions at Work course has not only garnered rave reviews, but students from around the world have participated in her course as well. Joie wants us all to harness the most underutilized yet powerful resource we have, our emotions. Welcome, Joie. So nice to have you here to join us today.
Oh, I've been really looking forward to this. So thank you for having me.
Likewise, likewise. Well, let's just dig in and get right to the beginning. You got your start. You started with this work some time ago. So give us a little insight into your journey.
I was struggling actor. This is an eon ago. And in my struggles, I had an epiphany one day that I wasn't supposed to be miserable. And it set me on a journey of really learning how to, what does it mean to be human and what do I need to do to change my experience? And I spent many years in therapy and studying and doing metaphysics and learning and reading books, et cetera, et cetera. And finally, I had everything I wanted. I had a wonderful marriage. I finally got married at 45. I was making my living as an actor and acting teacher and living the good life. And I had this voice in the back of my head kept saying, now what? Now what? And so it was nagging me, and I learned to listen to this voice. So I had a consultation with a spiritual person, a consultant, and I'm going on and on about my daily life and what the challenges are of being an actor, etc. And she says to me, well, what do you do better than anybody else in the world? And I just froze because it was so intimidating, a question. But before I could think, out of my mouth came, I feel. And I felt this wave of energy come from the bottom of my feet up through my body. And I said, oh my God, my name is Joy. I think I'm supposed to teach people how to feel. And I went home from that meeting and out came this outline of a course called Accessing Your Emotions. It was felt like I channeled it. And I started teaching it first to my acting students, and they came back saying, yeah, my acting's better, but this is affecting my life. And that was the beginning of my journey and that was like over 20 years ago. And I've been on that path ever since.
That is so fascinating, Joy, how a question can move us
Yeah.
into awareness. Like you said, it just hit you. It actually, funny enough, it was an emotion. That the question
Yes.
triggered an emotion, right? You said
Yes.
you feeling. I help people feel. So wow, that I could actually feel that myself. I certainly, because Joy and I have spoken previously, and we're just kindred spirits. But thank
Yes.
you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, and I love that your background is in acting and teaching as well. So I love how your book says emotions are a body-based information system and much more. Tell us more about that and how you define emotions.
I think most people think of emotions as being somewhat ethereal and mysterious and something that just happens to you. But emotions are actually, you're feeling something because you experience it in your body. You know the difference between sadness and anger because it feels different in your body. So, my definition is that emotions are a biological or body based information system that's bringing you information about your relationship to whatever it is that's happening to people, places, events. And it speaks to you very specifically by these different emotions that activates a different impulse for action. So their purpose is to prompt you to action that is optimally beneficial for your survival and your well being.
For your survival and well-being. Yes, I can,
We
that. Go ahead.
we have fight or flight. Everybody's heard of fight or flight, and that's our survival. We have basic instincts that try to move us out of harm's way. But that's when you are directly threatened. But most of our experience with emotions is our day-to-day lives, and that's where they're telling us what our thinking is, what our beliefs are, how we are reacting to whatever it is that's happening.
Right, exactly, because every human experience creates a chemical reaction, which then sets off an emotion, which is
Yeah.
energy in motion, right? So
And yes,
you're
exactly.
absolutely right. It is so important. And I love the fact that you call it an information system. So that would be something we can remember when we feel that emotion. So, why does this work matter so deeply to you?
For me, there's too much suffering.
Mm.
There's too much suffering in the world. People suffer unnecessarily. We go about life confused and insecure or unsure of ourselves, or we're not in a place of being fully grounded. And our emotions, when we listen to them, even the difficult ones, and that's where we can talk about that, why we don't pay attention to these, the discomfort of them. But they are really a resource for guidance, and we could live much more fulfilling lives, happier lives, richer lives if we were more accepting and connected to our emotions and using that information to help us make conscious choices. So we are choosing our life rather than reacting to what's happening on the outside. And with all the stuff that's going on in the world, I think more than ever, it's time for us to recognize the tremendous value of emotions rather than having them be a liability.
Mm. Powerful, very powerful. The the value of emotions rather than having them as a liability. You're right,
Yes.
because when a lot of people say you're too emotional or don't you're not supposed to do that, you have to stay
Hmm.
strong and whatever, we're shutting down our information system. We're almost
Exactly.
like a car without a GPS that's just we put it on autopilot. The light bulb is
Exactly.
wow. That's yes, we need direction, and the emotions are giving us those directions. You're absolutely
Yes.
right. So, keeping that in mind, then, recognizing what gets in our way. In our earlier conversation, you said that your work helps us recognize the beliefs, attitudes, and habits that get in our way. You just touched a little bit on that, but help
Mhm.
us understand how it helps us recognize those and then what we should do with that.
Yes, and this was part of the revelation that I experienced in my own journey, is that the more I tuned into what I was feeling, even those what we all call negative emotions, and I have something to say about that in a moment, but that idea of fear or anger or shame is being negative, it's bad, you shouldn't feel it, get over it, all that, it blocks us from that information. We experience everything from the inside of ourselves. We are totally subjective in our viewpoint of what we're experiencing. So our beliefs, our thoughts, we have 6,000 thoughts a day. Some say more. I think 6,000 is enough. But the vast majority of those we're not fully conscious of. They're very automatic, and we have repetitive patterns. And those patterns develop often in our earliest stages of life, and they're adaptive, or they've been taught to us from the outside by others. And so to find out who we are, what goes on inside of us, it behooves us to pay attention to what is going on inside and to slow down enough. And that's part of what being in touch with your feelings does. It slows you down to recognize, oh, somebody said something and I feel this charge in me. And instead of just like, well, I'm going to dismiss that person, or I'm going to say that, or I'm going to shut down and not say anything, I'm going to go, oh, what is it that I'm thinking about this situation? And is that true? Is what my opinion is actually correct, or is it coming from my conditioning? So it gives us an opportunity to really turn inward to ourselves. And honestly, it helps you to know who you are. And I mean that in the best possible sense of the way. People are often a little nervous. I don't want to know what I don't want to know. They think they're going to find out something bad. But what I've discovered is that you actually find out what your joy is, what your talents are, what your capabilities and your intelligence. It gets trapped inside of us when we suppress our emotions. So it's
Right.
really telling us, who we are, what we believe, what we think.
You're
And then you have a
absolutely
choice.
right.
You want to keep believing that and thinking that, or do you really better off maybe changing your mind?
Yes, our authentic self, and there's a lot on authenticity, and you're absolutely correct. There are a lot of individuals who say, "Well, I don't really know if I want to go there because, I've had this mask and I get along with the mask in me." So,
Mhm.
yes, very interesting, and how that loops into the training of actors and so on. That's fascinating. Yes, I could see that. So, yeah, that's a story for another day, but I'm sure that this is why I found your work so fascinating. We'll get into that a little bit later. But you
Mhm.
did mention a little bit about the suffering, and you say that there is no better time than now for us to
Yeah.
be learning about our emotions. Why is your work so important, more important than ever right now?
Well, I believe that we're in a evolutionary time. The pandemic has shaken the world. And a lot that what we might say was in the shadows has come to the forefront. A lot about the way government is run, the way people are treated. One of the things that occurred to me is that we live in a world where the people serve the society rather than society serving the people. And so we get caught up in these beliefs that make our lives smaller. And there's so much conflict and opposition right now. And so and a misuse in essence of the emotions. There's a lot of anger that comes up, but the anger is then used to say, well, I'm right and you're wrong. But if we are going to survive as a humanity, if the planet is going to grow and evolve so that we can actually utilize our ability to connect to each other to create something greater, rather than spending all this energy into tearing down other people and their beliefs. And we see the worst example of it with what's happening in the Ukraine, where people are being literally destroyed, a country, because of some fear that goes on in the leadership of another country, and the idea that somehow somebody is right and somebody else is wrong. The irony is that this misuse of emotion that causes the conflict or that's instigating conflict can actually be shifted so that we can recognize our shared humanity through our sharing of emotional experiences. So it's very vital now that we use this as an opportunity, this shakeup of the world, to really be self-reflective and to be thinking about, what kind of world do I want to live in? Where are my morals? Where are my values? And what is it that I want to contribute to the world, to other people? And, how do I want to experience life? So I think we are in a big wake up call time, and the opportunity is there. But we really have to be cognizant and accepting of our emotions in a way that allows us to be able to shift and change. And they can help us
Yes,
do that.
like you said, use them as an asset rather
Yeah.
than having
Yeah.
them you actually use them as an asset rather than having them use us.
Exactly. And when you deny or suppress them or you allow them to overwhelm you, then the emotion is in charge. And the emotions, that's not their job. They're not leaders. They are followers. They're servants in a way. They are energy that's bringing you information, and it's up to you to make a choice, as I had said before. So,
Yes, I love that they are not the leaders, but
right.
often that's what we allow them to be. I mean, even when somebody cuts you off in traffic, just thinking of that, it's like, yeah, In fact, I just have
Yeah.
to say, yeah, I have to tell you a little story. So I have a friend who someone cut, no, anyway, they were vying for, getting into a lane or whatever. And the guy was angry and yelling at her. He had his window up, but then she just smiled and waved at him, and he didn't know what to do. He was like, "What are you doing? I'm mad. Why are you smiling and waving at me?" So it's
Beautiful.
really,
Love that.
yeah, it's really interesting. So, emotional agility. What is
Mhm.
emotional agility, and what does it cost people if they don't learn to develop it?
Emotional agility is the ability to allow emotions to come and go, to feel them. The thing is, emotions don't last for very long when you actually accept them. When they come and they go. Sadness is one that kind of has its own timing. We can be sad for a length of time over a big loss. But mostly emotions come, and when they bring you the information, if you're paying attention, the emotion goes away quite quickly. I mean, I get angry pretty much every single day, but it
Oh, yeah.
doesn't last because I'm paying attention and I have to say, okay, can I do something about this right now or not? And so emotional agility is that fluidity. It's that letting the emotions come, listening, paying attention. Sometimes the action that's required is just simply letting go of a thought that doesn't
Mm.
serve you. Sometimes it's taking physical action. It just depends. So it's the ability to move with grace in a way from one emotion to the other.
That is a practice for
Hmm.
sure. And
Yeah. And I even have an
repeating it.
exercise, the emotional
Oh,
fluidity
wonderful.
exercise that I teach people how to, there's a practice of moving from one emotion to the other. So you get used to it, and you also kind of train your body that says it's okay to feel this because it's just going to move on. We're going to go on to the next. And in this
Right.
exercise, you always enjoy. So,
So instead of blocking it, because I heard you say it's okay, you're
yeah,
accepting it. That's key
exactly.
right there, because often
Exactly.
our first, if we don't want to feel that, what we do is we block it. But rather than
Right.
block it, acknowledge it. It's telling you
Yes.
something. And then you say, okay, I got the message. I'm
Right.
going to move on. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And when
interesting.
you block
But
it, you're actually stuffing it because it's going to stay in your body in some way until you get the message. And it can affect your immune system. It can make for tight muscles, back problems, neck problems, stomach problems, intestinal problems. All that can come from withheld emotion.
right, right, because it's said that our emotions are the language of the body.
Yeah.
So there you go. While
Mhm.
we're on this subject about the emotions, you said something about negativity, and you said you wanted to get into that. Do you want to
Yes.
explain that a little? Because that kind of
It,
fits right in here.
it's a really key message that most people view, that their view is that there are negative emotions and positive emotions. Now, of course, things that are negative, we don't want anything to do with. But emotions are essential for our survival and for our ability to connect with each other, which is what life is all about. We cannot survive and thrive in isolation. We are a world of connection. Everything, animal, plants, and people, we're all connected. And so when we can allow these emotions, their purpose is a positive purpose. So in my book, in my mind, they are no negative emotions. There is only the repression, suppression, and denial, the actions that deny these emotions that cause a negative outcome. The problem is not the emotions themselves, it's the way that they're mismanaged.
Hmm. Okay, and to learn more about that, we need to read the book. Yeah, exactly. So, can you share with us a story of someone who has advanced dramatically with your program?
Yes, yes, I have a number of wonderful stories, and one that's kind of been on my mind lately because of all of this conflict in the world was I spoke at an event. A woman called me the next morning saying, can you help me with my resume? I was like, your resume? I don't do resumes. What's going on here? And turns out she had a nemesis at work, and she was thinking of quitting and moving on. And then she realized in our conversation that she could move on someplace else and there would still be a nemesis. There could be a similar type of person. I mean, this person did terrible things, sabotaged her when she was giving a presentation to senior management and switched out her slides. I mean, really nasty stuff. And so when we worked together, she learned how to, first of all, come into her own body and recognize these stress, what sensation she was calling stress and anxiety, that they were anger and fear and some shame and these other emotions. And then she learned how to create boundaries. So she was learning how to stay present with her emotions, set boundaries, including energetic boundaries. So she had a space that she could be grounded. And she started behaving differently and interacting differently with this person in particular. And the company as a whole didn't have a great culture. So she was really recognizing the company culture, what allowed for a person to behave like her nemesis. And she just started changing her behavior, speaking up in meetings, expressing herself. And her goal, she was a senior manager, but she wanted to be an executive. She wanted to be a VP. Well, over time, this person, her nemesis, came to her and apologized, started treating her totally differently, treating her with respect. And then one of the higher ups got recruited to another company, and that person had watched my client's behavior. And when she got to the other company, she recruited my client into that company as a vice president. So she got the promotion, she got it into a new company, and she got the satisfaction of having this person apologize to her.
That is an amazing story, Joy. Oh my gosh. So powerful what we can do when we learn
Yeah,
what it is that's moving us. That's,
yeah.
because it's energy and motion and what's
It,
making us
yeah.
feel. Yeah.
Yes,
That
and there's stuff in her personal life that was, undermining her own confidence. We come into our jobs with a history. And so part of this is I do a lot of work with people in the workplace, but it always impacts their personal lives in a positive way as well.
yes, because I see that her nemesis came to her. So she was actually her energy was emitting to the nemesis, and it was making her realize something. That's because
Mhm.
that's we are powerful human beings if we understand how to,
Yes.
like you said, in this case, manage our emotions, or not necessarily manage, but just understand and work with our emotions.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that because it isn't always just about managing
Mhm.
emotions. It's kind of, I used to say that all the time because it's kind of easy, but it's so much richer than that.
Oh,
It's richer than that.
absolutely. Yeah, because managing to me sounds like you're doing the stuffing as well. It's like, now you just shut up
Yeah,
over there. I
right.
don't need to feel you right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's more like acknowledging and working with it. So
yeah.
they're like it's collaborative work,
Mhm,
basically. Yeah, collaborative
mhm.
work. So there's been a lot of talk, not recently, but in the past, about emotional intelligence. So unpack that a little bit for us. What exactly does emotional intelligence mean? And of course, it's very vital in the workforce today and in our
Right.
lives. And how do you measure it?
First of all, a lot of people tout emotional intelligence as a value, but the basic understanding is it means to be more compassionate and understanding. But that's just the tip of the iceberg to me. There's so much more to it. So emotional intelligence is really the ability to be present with the full range of your emotions, to accept them, to listen to the message, and then to make a conscious choice with the information that you have, to take action and to watch your own behavior, to your relationship both externally with other people and situations, but also internally with your relationship with yourself, so that it's a very deep, it's a process that just gets richer and richer over time. So it is really about the wholeness of your humanity, your what we call mind, body, spirit. I see emotions as like the energy of the spirit part that connects mind and body, our intellect and our understanding, and along with who we are as a human being, as each of ourselves as a unique person. Measuring it, I mean, I don't have a tool to measure it. My measurement is how fulfilled are you in life? How free do you feel in terms of communicating with people? You know, if you have something that you need to say to someone that's difficult, do you hide that and never say it, or do you figure out a way to actually communicate that with kindness, with compassion, but with truth? So those are kind of the measurements that I see as a level of fulfillment, and being in tune with your own intuition.
Right. And I could see how all of that played into the client in the story that you just told us in reference to the woman
Mm,
who had a nemesis at work because
yeah.
she basically gained the knowledge of what she was feeling, because you took her deeper. It wasn't just that she had the nemesis, but she was feeling shame and
Yes.
a lot deeper.
Anger and fear and confusion and yeah, all of that.
Yeah, yeah. And you wouldn't associate that unless you had someone like yourself, a professional, to bring that forward, because you would just think you're just angry at this person for picking on you. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's wonderful work. Well, we all need to be more emotionally intelligent, that's for sure. And so does the planet. So in
Yes.
our earlier, yeah, that's a must right now. In our earlier conversation, I love this. You said life is richer when you feel it, which I
Yeah.
would love for you to explain to our audience what you meant by that.
One of the things that amazed me, and I think where my gift is that from the early time in my 20s when I was so unhappy and so miserable, and I was always willing to feel all of my emotions, no matter how uncomfortable it was. I mean, I had in a moment of really experiencing my shame, and I've learned that there's two kinds of shame. There's toxic shame, which is just a feeling that's not a core emotion, but a belief that there's something fundamentally wrong with me. That's what I had. And then there's shame that is healthy shame, that is shame that says that I've done something, I'm not perfect, I've done something I regret that's gone against my values, and I own up to it. And so it's an internal moral compass. So the idea that life is richer when you feel it, the full range of your emotions, when I have the more I felt the full range of my emotions, the more joy I felt, the happier I was, the easier choices became, the easier it was to make decisions, the clarity that I had in terms of what it is that I was going to do and the things that I wanted to create it all came much clearer because I wasn't afraid of feeling even the difficult emotions. And there's a richness in that. And I mean, what are we here for? That was one of my initial questions. Why am I here? And if it's not to feel life, if we had no color, if there was no green and red and yellow and blue, it'd just be gray. We'd live in a gray world. That's how I feel about emotions. That if we're only going to try to be happy all the time, and maybe a little sadness, a little annoyance, okay, but not the rest of it, then you're living in a gray world rather than one full of rich colors.
Yes.
So
Rich.
that's,
Yeah. It's richer when you feel it. I'll tell you, you must
yes.
have had your work cut out for you if you still work with actors because the range of emotion that they go through when they get rejected and they're told they're not pretty enough or they're too fat or they're too short
Yes.
or they're, oh my Lord, you would have
It's
clients for the rest of your life.
well, when I moved, I wasn't going to be a therapist, but when I went back to school to get a master's in somatic counseling psychology, because I was teaching actors and I could see that, it was stirring stuff up. And I wanted to know how to handle something if somebody got really triggered. And then I fell in love with somatic psychology and I realized, oh, that just added a whole other layer of my understanding of emotions being in the body. So all of my first clients were actors as therapists, as a therapist. But the thing about actors is they are also willing to feel and they're willing to play and to engage their imagination. We can work with our imagination. Some of the guided visualizations and things I work with clients when I have a thing called a thing on my website, 5 Steps to Prepare for a Difficult Conversation. And I take people through a guided visualization of setting energetic boundaries and that we can use our intention, which is what you use as an acting tool, intention. What is your objective or your intention? You look at what is my intention here? What is it that I want to get out of this conversation? What is it that I want to get out of things? And I invest myself in that in a way that frees me. So,
Yeah, no, that I love that you said that, they have the imagination because you can change your reality with your imagination for sure.
yes,
I mean,
yes,
life is how we perceive it. So
absolutely.
the misconceptions about emotions, what are the most common misconceptions that people have when it comes to emotions?
Yeah, first is that, and I don't know if you can hear sound in the
Yeah,
background. That
we
is,
can.
I'm so sorry. I live in a high-rise apartment building, and sometimes that goes off for no apparent reason. So I apologize. Hopefully,
Wow, we
it'll
need to
stop.
get angry.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I thought
Uh,
it might be a big bird or something that you had, and he was like, you triggered his emotions.
it does. I mean, the first time it happened in the middle of the night, and we're like, oh.
Oh
But
my gosh, that's
hopefully,
terrible.
there's nothing to worry about. So I
That's
apologize.
okay. We'll just
The
pretend it's not
misconception
there.
is, yeah, uh, or notice what it makes you feel.
Yeah.
um, First of all, that emotions some are negative and some are positive. So that's the first myth, and that they really are all there to support you. And the other thing is that if you're going to tell somebody the truth, then it's confrontational. It's like people say, "Well, I don't like to be confrontational," as if the only way to speak truth to someone is to confront them. There are ways to communicate that actually keep people from being defensive, that actually makes them feel safe. So that's one of the keys to communicating feelings is how you help the other person to feel safe. And that there, one of the things is that anger, which is I think is the most misused and misunderstood emotions of the 7 that I teach, and anger is automatically violent or aggressive. And anger's core message is that it is a boundary setter. It's something that happens when your values are being challenged or someone has crossed the line. So that anger does not mean that you have to be aggressive or violent if you're expressing anger. In fact, one of the most effective ways to express anger is to be calm and grounded in that expression. And that another thing that people are afraid of is, like, I notice, especially with grief, that people are afraid to really feel the depth of their sadness because they're going to get stuck there, that you can get stuck in an emotion. But again, what we've talked about already is that flow. If you really feel it and listen to it, then it will pass through and move on.
Yes.
So those are some of the key ones.
So it's like I mentioned before, it's a practice. It
It's
really,
practice.
really is. It's you have to keep rehearsing it, as you would say. Well, speaking of that, and we touched briefly on it, I am fascinated with the idea of role playing because of your background. As we had in our earlier talk, Joy and I just hit it off, and we were talking about how role playing can be so powerful in this topic specifically because it's an experience. Tell our audience a little bit about that. You touched briefly on it, but why it's so important, and with your
Yeah.
unique background, that makes your program so unique.
It's really because we go through life practicing habits of behavior. And so as an adult, you have 20, 30, 40, 50 years of behaving a certain way to do something new. Your nervous system gets triggered. So your autonomic nervous system, a lot of our emotions, they're regulated through the body, through the autonomic nervous system. And so even I had to train myself to be joyful because being joyful felt like so there was so much energy that I felt really uncomfortable. So in the role playing, the idea is that you get to practice expressing feelings. You get to practice communicating in a certain way. You get to practice the exercises that, oh, this particular exercise, first I'm going to calm my body. And then I have wording. I had a client just recently that she's just kind of, she has a boss who's never been a boss before. He ran the whole company, and now she has a key role, and she was looking to get out because she didn't like the way he communicated and she didn't know what to say. So after doing other work together, first of all, then we did a mock conversation, how she could go to him and communicate with him what it is that she wanted from him and what was bothering her. And so we practiced that in a role play, and then she scheduled the meeting, had it, and had a tremendous result from it. He totally got it. And it was like, oh, well, maybe I'll stay. Maybe I won't try to get another job. So.
Yeah, I find that so powerful because I don't feel that a lot of coaches or that type of thing put their programs into a role play, which is
Mm-hmm.
really, it was interesting because when I started in the brokerage business eons ago, before computers, etc., it was cold calling. And
Mm-hmm.
we would practice in front of our own classmates. So
Uh-huh.
you had to get past that intimidation. It's
Yeah.
probably a lot like acting in the sense because you have to be able to pick up the phone, solicit someone, but while everyone else is listening, they're not really, because when you're in the work environment, everyone else is doing their own thing, but you think you're the
Right.
center of attention, right? It's like when you get on stage, you think it's all about you, but
Yeah.
I forgot who said it. I think it might have been Tony Robbins. He says, "Don't focus on you, focus on the audience." You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? Because we all get
Yes.
so involved in ourselves.
Yes. And when you're with someone, if you're really noticing, when I said that, And this is something that I coach is like, oh, when you said that, I noticed a little something happened just then. Are you uncomfortable or did I, what do you think about what I just said? So that you can slow things down. We kind of go in things like, oh, I'm going to get this results and I want to do this. But it's like slowing it down and then noticing how your message lands is another part of the training and the work
Yes,
that I do.
absolutely. And that is recognizing what the other person is feeling,
Yeah. They want to be
right?
seen. We all want to be seen. Oprah said after 25 years on TV that one thing I know for sure is that everybody wants to be seen and heard. And when we
Yes.
come right down to it, that's what we all want. We want to be acknowledged.
Oh, acknowledged. Yes, absolutely, for sure. Well, what are you most excited about right now in your life, Joy?
Oh, I'm excited about. I'm being bolder now about getting my message out because I have my own stuff that I continue to grow and evolve too, and that's the thing I love about acting. The thing I love about this work is that there's always some place to go with it that's even richer. So I've been speaking more to international organizations and making connections with people in different cultures and communities. And I find that what I love is that we have different languages and different cultures, but we have the same longings and desires and insecurities and challenges. Internally, we're the human race. And so, even with all of the difficulty in the world, I see a lot of people waking up and going, wait a minute, we could have a better place here. People like you who are putting out such wonderful messages and providing a platform for people to express themselves. That makes me really excited.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And yes, I agree completely. I mean, sharing and acknowledging, and because when you boil it down, we all have feelings. It doesn't matter what language. It's,
Yeah,
it's the language of our bodies, but it's not as though you can't hear or feel. Like when someone's sad, you can feel that, even if they're not in
exactly.
tears. When someone's excited, they come in a room and you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Or they're
Yes.
fearful. They come in and they're like, and yeah, it's contagious. It really
This
is.
is where we can connect too,
Mhm.
because we can understand. I mean, if your beliefs are completely different than mine, but you're sad, I know what that sadness feels like. And
Mhm.
that's where we can actually find the connection.
Yeah.
And that joy is the emotion of connection.
Mm.
That was a revelation to me when I discovered that even we can be sad in a beautiful kind of way. We can be
Mhm.
angry in a passionate kind of way, and ways that we feel really connected to ourselves. And so, yeah, that's
Connected as
something.
human beings.
Yes, as
Yeah.
human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Joy, tell our audience where they can contact you and get more information.
Oh, thank you. So for anyone out there who is would like to learn how to handle a difficult conversation, you can go to my website. I know they're going to post it on. You're going to be posting that, and there's a download there. And if you're someone who really wants some support or wants to just talk about the challenges that you're having, that you feel stuck, or you have certain issues that you would really like some input on, I welcome you to schedule a call with me. It's complimentary, and you can go to joytotherescue.com. And my name is Joie, like in joie de vivre. So it's Joie to the rescue.com, and you'll go straight to my calendar and you can schedule a half hour consultation.
That's wonderful. I suggest everyone take advantage of that for sure. You cannot go wrong. So, any last words that you'd like to share with our audience?
I just want you to recognize that you can have a lot more fun and joy in your life if you embrace all of your emotions. They're there to support you. They're there to help you navigate life. They're a part of your navigation tool, and that life is richer when you feel it.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you there. And because we're here on the Epic Vision Zone, I have one last question. If your life were an epic story, what would the title be? And you can't use your book title.
Wow, that's the second most intimidating question. I would say feeling her way through life. Feeling her way through life, a story of sad and lonely to abundant joy.
Mm, I love that. Yes, that I could see the story. Yes, I'm glad you said from sad and lonely to abundant joy, because I would
Yeah.
say sad and lonely, that's not a good story.
I
We
was
want to
I
make
was
the
sad and
leap.
lonely all through growing up for many, many
Oh,
years, and now I experience abundant joy, so
yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you do and that you're here with us. And I want to thank you once again, Joy, for joining us here. For more information on Joy's book, and I have it here. It is wonderful. I suggest it, and it's a quick read. It's really handy to have. You can flip it open, take a look at different chapters. Go and check it out. It's the Emotions and Owner's Manual. And be sure to go to Joy's website, Joy, that's Joie, Seldon, Seldon.com. All of that information will be available at the Epic Vision Zone bio pages. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jane Applegath and grab your free download, The Keys to Your Dreams and More at janeapplegath.com. This is the Epic Vision Zone, transforming your dreams into epic success.